Yes, Talib is already here. Exciting, exciting. It is my love. Oh, and so many beautiful people joining. So nice. Hello, everyone.
Good morning, Shuba.
Good morning, Talibi, Tyler
Darling, good morning.
Fisher. Oh, I
As a
feel so
Tyler Fisher.
excited to meet with you.
Yeah, I miss you guys. I miss so much. Ah,
I miss you
really.
too. No, really, it's yeah. As some days become a week, and a week becomes 2 weeks, and 2 weeks is a lot, and then 15 days is quite something to be away
It's,
from you.
yeah, yeah, it's been such a journey for me to be away from you guys. Really, it's like being in Path of Love also to really let that also crack me open, you know? It's like having the space to feel, wow, it's quite intense to be away from you, from Jai. It's like, whew,
Mm.
it's first time in my life away from Jai also, and from him, from me, it's quite something.
And how is it, Path of Love in UK?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Today we're on day 6, and it's been an incredible journey, really. It's been so
Mm.
deep and rich, and it's like, wow, it's such a powerful moment on the planet to do this type of work, you know?
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
really, I feel honored to be here, even with my own sacrifice of being away from you guys, you know, which is quite intense in itself, but somehow also helps me
Mm.
in to be here in a way of being connected to myself and feeling myself.
Mm. Mm.
So,
Yeah, I think this also has to do with what we're going to talk today. And
yes,
yes, but first of all, I would love to just yeah, say a big hello and a warm good morning from the warm of Brazil to all of you that is joining us. Yeah, it's very early in Brazil, but the sun is shining brightly. Yes, I imagine a bit different than your landscape behind you, Talib.
yes, it's raining full on here in the UK.
Mm.
So much that I didn't go to breakfast this morning because it was raining so much. I didn't have an umbrella. It's
Mm.
so cold here.
So shall we begin? I think we started
Yes,
already by also just acknowledging being away from each other and
yeah,
also from Jai. And I think this
yes,
is actually, I will say that later, but I think this is also one of the keys that we going to be sharing today, space and time. But let's
yes,
begin with the title. Yeah, the how we
yes.
came with this. Would you like to say?
Yeah, this, you know, reconnecting, reclaiming the intimacy after children. I mean, that's something that we experience from the inside now, you know, after Jai's 5.5, and after working with many couples who are parents and dealing with the challenges that the intimacy faces when we have children. And I think you and I, we couldn't really understand that from the inside until we lived that, you know, and to really have that experience, even with all the tools and everything we have, that we still faced that reality of the nucleus of just the two of us as a couple, the that quality of intimacy when it was just you and me. And of course, that changed. It became three. It became a new constellation, and that two, just you and me, was changed. It was lost, we could say, in a way. It never will be recovered in that same way as we experienced it before. And as much as our child is, I mean, he's just an incredible blessing in our lives. But at the same time, that you and me will never be the same, and to really acknowledge that in its depth, and what that really touches inside us as a man, for myself as a man, for you as a woman, and all of the layers that come up around that, and how the need of talking about that and validating that and recognizing that as a fact, and not just something. It's something that I see in many couples that goes unseen and unspoken, and in some way unaddressed, which has certain consequences in the process of reclaiming the intimacy after the children are old enough. And in a certain, we can look back now and see what preparation could have helped us more to prepare for that. But that's something that also at the same time we only really know when we're in it, or
Yes.
actually how strong that is, right?
Right. Yes, and I consider like a blessing to catch that inquiry in the beginning, because most of the couples that we have been working with, and I think this is also one of the calling that we felt to talk about this theme, because the relationship just go on and on and on, and predicting and delivering what is needed, and ongoing on the to-do lists and things that needs to be done all the time, and how also the woman operates in one way and how the man operates in a different way, and nobody really check that, how the intimacy is actually calling for a transformation. And then when they just realize such a long time has passed and there's such a gap in between, and the friendship and the partnership and that loyalty is still there many times, but the lovers is just become more and more apart.
Right.
And even the individual connection with the two basic needs that we have, right? The freedom and intimacy, that we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it just dries on the way. So for me, it's very important that we share about that. And it's not that you and I, we are something that we have, not being challenged with that. Actually, this is what, for me, it makes what we talk about here alive, because
Yes.
we are in it. It is something
Yes.
that is an ongoing remembering, is an ongoing calling to be aware of how
Yes.
to transform the intimacy without sex, even how to add intimacy in a different, almost like a uploading, yeah, it's like making intimacy a little bit expanded, that couples can and we can all started to share intimacy in such a level that not necessarily needs to be including sex. And this for me is one of the great keys, because right when the baby comes, we change, we transform. It's impossible to keep the same way.
Right.
Actually, I have that belief before myself. You remember? You remember when I started to say to you before, when I was big, like waiting, yeah, I was like super pregnant, and I used to say like nothing is gonna change. Yeah, you're gonna be my number one, and
Right.
I bet with you that it's like our cocoon is gonna be intact.
Right.
And you wish, right? But
You
it's
wish.
not,
You
yes, it's
wish.
not really what happens.
Right.
Transformation is about to happen.
Yes. And that is easier, like you're saying, easier said than done, because there's certain facts that we have to face. It's like the metaphoric symbol for that. It's like you love to cook, you know, for example, and you're a great cook, and I love when you cook, you know, and I'm more like to wash the dishes, thank God. So we're a good team that way in the kitchen. But you know, it's like in the totality of you in the archetype of a mother, and just focusing on the need of our child in that way. You remember those moments you would forget to make enough food for me. It was just enough for him, you know, in that way. And and that was happening again
Oh,
and again and again. And in somehow it was like the adult in me, of course, could go, okay, of course, you know, you just think about him and he needs that. But that emotional part of me was like, oh, you don't make me food.
oh,
You know, it's like uh, symbolically for like I don't matter. You know, what's translated in that is that feeling like I'm not important. I'm not seen. I'm not. I don't. It's like I'm secondary here. You know, like on a
right.
very basic level of food, for example, and then that translates, of course, into sex, like the need of sex, or but even deeper than the sex is super important and something to elaborate on, of course, but you know that for me it took really more than a year to really understand, even though I had the theory in my mind, the depth of the layer in me as a father, as a man, that actually felt really rejected and abandoned in the process of becoming a father and receiving our son, and you becoming into the archetype of the mother, and and to actually validate that in myself as a man, that I actually am dealing with an abandonment wound, very alive, very open in my moodiness, in my certain resentment feelings that were there, illogical feelings of resentment which were there, that I was dealing with in myself, and not really being able to identify it so clearly so that I could bring it to you and say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with inside. Actually, when you don't make me food, that makes me, it touches that place inside me, and in order to not shut down and become resentful for 2 more days here and like give you the cold moody state, let me share this with you. Not that I make you wrong, but just that this is what I visit inside when I
Yeah.
feel
So
that,
no, say please complete.
when I feel that, when I touch those, I say illogical places inside myself, you know. But I think, and working with men also, fathers, in this regard, you know, to really validate the rejection that we face and how to deal with that, how to validate that, not making that wrong, because in some way I think there's a deep fear in us that if I validate the frustration or feeling of resentment, that somewhere means, or even the frustration, even that can go towards the child, because he's taking that which I need on a human level as a man, then especially when there's not enough energy, emotional space to have sex, is too tired for a long time because we don't sleep for months and months and years, in fact, um, that I'm afraid to say that because that might mean that I don't love my child, which is not true. But the fear of that being spoken, it's like almost like a taboo, that if I validate those feelings, that you might interpret that I don't love our child, or what would people think if I were to say that? So it's repressed and festers in shame in a way, which is somehow creates that moody state in the man, because I feel like I can't say my truth. I can't talk about that because I I risk maybe losing you more. You know, what would the mother think if I had those feelings? You know, what would you think about me? So I'd rather not talk about it, you know? It's too
Yeah.
risky, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is where I think we coming already here with some understandings and some actually things that has been revealed to us that we have been learning along of this experience, I would say, which is when the baby comes, how instinctively the mother focusing to that. It's an extension of my body, right? It was inside of me. So there I go, intrinsically, totally, absolutely focusing to that being, right? And most of the what happens is that the woman does that direction, and the man continues with the direction towards the woman, and then it becomes somehow an invisible crack in the constellation, because it's like I'm focusing into the baby, the man is focusing on the woman, yeah, as a woman, wanting still the same intimacy or the same attention or the same constellation, the same movements or the same ways, right? But actually it's different now. And then what if the man actually would join the woman towards the baby, and then both would look for the baby, and then both would be intimate in a different way. So I used to say that before the baby, we were like looking to each other, facing each other like this. And then after the baby, it's almost like that we both need to do like that. It's like standing by side and looking towards the third,
Right.
the third presence that is
Right.
joining us. And then
Yes.
can be that union, that unity, that transformative unity that starts to happen because this presence is there. So we are three, right? But if I keep the focus on the baby and the man is still focusing on me, in this case you, and also many couples that we have been working with, it's like that same demand of sex, for example. Yeah, it's like the body of the woman is very different. The needs are different, the pulsations are different, the intelligence of the body, the way that is working towards that being is very different. So the intimacy here together with the man has to be born again in a different level, in a different way. And that doesn't mean that cannot be nurturing, that cannot be fulfilling. You remember those moments that I was asking you, uh, hey, we are shifting gears here, and the lover in me will come back. But right now, we gotta find a different way of relating, a different way of connecting. The intimacy needs to expand in a different format. And how we're gonna do this, I don't know. How that's gonna look like, I don't know. Yeah? And then comes this key that you were mentioning now, communication.
Yeah.
How important it is. It's a must after kids, how to keep or how to even build up an authentic communication.
Yes. I mean, it's the point, because like you say, we lose the physical contact of the sexuality, which biologically joins us, bonds us. There's so much communication in the sexuality of I love you through the skin contact, not even the words, but the melting and merging and bonding that happens through the sexuality. So when we don't have that, it's almost like that is left unspoken. Those those unspoken visceral communication that happens through the bonding and melting and holding each other through the skin, that communication stops. So if we don't communicate then verbally to validate the layers that we're feeling inside, then that bridge is lost. So the communication becomes essential. But in the communication, if we don't have the tools to identify, okay, my wounds of separation are activated, feelings of rejected, or feelings of inadequacy or shame or missing, the need of missing is there, and that's okay, or that requires some inner work. in ourselves, in myself, let's say, as a man, that when I come to communicate, that I can communicate from a place of vulnerability, authenticity, of the truth, rather than you're not giving me sex, and therefore uh, I hate, or I'm angry,
Yeah.
or that feeling of frustration that gets communicated rather through blame, not
Yes.
through actually communicating my internal sense of self, which is really quite shut down in that point. And that requires a certain training inside ourselves as men, in a way, to be able to do that, which is a certain result of maturity emotionally, because we're really faced with an adult maturity in us. Like, we are working and we're going for the family, we're protecting the family, we're doing our best to be present, that intention of being like an adult man, trying to be a man actually, which is present and authentic. And but we're dealing with an immature emotional part of us, in a way, which is very entitled, impatient, wants it my way, doesn't want to have, is very controlling, is moody. It communicates rather than through words, through like,
Yeah.
stay
Or
in my
even
phone.
go to live parallel life, right? This is where the the affairs the affairs starts to happen, right? Or the
Exactly.
parallel world. It's like I
Exactly.
come back home, but keep on working and working, and then the career is totally prioritized, and then
Right.
there it goes, like it starts this parallel world, and the distance starts
Exactly.
to born.
Exactly. And that represents, because that's the representation of the loss of freedom, for one side. And the woman, of course, can feel that too. This is, we talk about men and women, but we're really talking about the masculine principle and the feminine principle in some way, because of course women have can have all of the feelings that I refer to as man, as father, but we're actually more precisely talking about the masculine principle and the feminine principle, which we have, of course, in both of us individually. But that masculine principle is very sensitive, because its essence is really about freedom. Its value is about freedom, where the feminine's value inside is more about connection and melting and safety of the emotional self, that I know that you're with me and only with me, that need inside me. But the freedom side feels very triggered with the children, because it loses a certain freedom. I cannot do what I want when I want. I cannot have the sex as much as I want when I want. I cannot be appreciated in a certain um, getting the attention that I want. That element of freedom is very much challenged. So of course it goes for getting that met elsewhere, when it's not
Yes.
validated at home. And it
Yes.
goes for working, like you say, or it goes for another woman that gives that confirmation to the man. And then it becomes, like you say, that parallel life, because the freedom part is not validated. It's almost like, if I talk about the freedom, it means that I don't love the family, which is, again,
Yeah.
it's not true. But it
Yeah.
feels like the freedom doesn't have space anymore. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah. No, I was just, I think you just perceived that was like you saying about
yeah.
the men's side. And for me, I go, it's like as a yeah, just as this pillar of the women, I feel that we women, we adapt very quickly, and we merge in such a way, yeah, in order to, serve that baby, and in order to make that the best that we can. But many times we pay a price of being silently, and in that way it's very risky, because we become very resentful, and inside of us we started to complain, and complain and complain because of that unmet need, that all of a sudden I look and I say, the man is not coming the way that I come towards that baby, or the man is not showing up the same way that I think that he should, yeah, in the practicalities of the home, for example, or, you know, things that I expect, so that the expectations, it starts to be very uncalibrated, if I could say like this, you know, it's not calibrated anymore, because I'm expecting something, and I don't go to expose that, I don't go to share that, or if I even mention, it feels like that I'm needy, or I want something that you cannot give it to me because maybe you're too busy, or you don't get it, yeah? Or for you is different. How many women I share this with, like the women says to me, Shuba, why we women, we need to do more towards the baby than the men? Why we do in certain ways that the men cannot join that? And then sometimes I even play, I say like, well, that is not, it's not the case of Sweden. Sometimes I play like this, because in Sweden is just amazing to see how many men goes right walking with the baby in the parks and so on. This is very different in each country, but nevertheless is something there that the women starts to see the differences, considering as an unmet needs, and starts to complain and don't express, and doesn't know how to express many times. It comes out as a blame. It comes out as a pointing the finger out, right? And then all of a sudden becomes an attack, which becomes very difficult for the man to really listen. And you were saying something very important, which is like how we are wired in a different way, men and women. So we women, we are wired in the heart, which means that we are emotionally connected in the first place. That's why, like, if we don't feel that the bridge is on there, is clean, that doesn't have anything between us, yeah. If you didn't hurt me with some words, or if you didn't disappear, or if you all of a sudden you were not reliable, you are not accountable, you are not present there, and you come to have closeness, or you come to approach certain conversations, or if you come to have trying to have sex, to moving into lovemaking, the women is not gonna open. We're not gonna move into that. It can even go, but not really opening the heart and the belly and the body. Something there closes, something there waits, something that is suspicious and cannot open up. And that is the way that we are wired, because we need to have this emotional connection in the first place. So the antidote here of what I'm saying, it comes again into communication, and also the validation of my sensitivities, the validation, the way that I feel things. And from there, how can I communicate that? But not making the man as the one targeting the man and saying like, you are the one that has to give that to me, you are the one that needs to understand what I'm saying. But more, I do feel in that way. Wow, all of a sudden, right. I'm very like, my expectations are really taking place here. How is that for you? Right now, I don't want to have sex, but I want to talk about sex. Can we talk about sex? How is it going for you? Because for me, it's going like this. For me, right now, my needs are, or right now, for me, I'm seeing this way. That's my landscape right now. What is yours? And how we can bridge there with the differences, not trying to save each other in that way. Yeah, it's like I need to compromise my need to go for yours. But how can we both sit there and look into each other and let the other speak, and I can hear without the urgency to try to fix the other, to give suggestions or to give advices. It's like, I think you should do this, but I told you this last week. You see, you don't listen to me. Because if you would do that, what I have said to you, maybe right now we wouldn't be talking about that again. You didn't even try. Did you read that book that I gave you? It's by side of your bed. I bought you. You didn't even open, right? How many couples we heard that? It's like you got to do something. So it's always like focusing to the other because we are in despair inside, where it is, how can we survive this stretch that all of a
Right.
sudden this presence of the baby is bringing?
Right.
And that can be magical, right, Ali? Now talking like,
It
I
can,
don't know. Yeah,
no, but it's good. It can be magical, but before it becomes magical, it requires what you're talking about, it's like from the man's side, like you're saying, the woman needs the heart to the feeling
yes,
of connectedness, the feeling of emotionally attunement together, and then because she's positive in the heart. So
right.
you need as a woman, of course you need that turns you on. That's the key, you know. And
Yes,
for the man, it's the penetration in a way. It actually is the plugging in because he's positive in the sex center. He needs the plugging in to contact his heart actually. So he needs the feeling of being received physically so that then he has access to the heart. It's just how the wiring is different. In that, the polarization, the chemistry of sexuality flows because the poles are meeting. Like electricity has poles that make electricity happen. Man and woman have that. We're talking about now, of course, a female male relationship, not a homosexual relationship, is something different. But in this case, particularly, so you have this polarities meeting, and but the difference is when we're activated and triggered in our wounds, like you're saying, goes to the blame instead of actually validating where I feel validated by recognizing what I feel actually and what I need and what is important for me, and I can identify that in myself first, and then I can bring that truth to you and share that gives me more space. And then when I have that space, I can actually have empathy to listen to you, to actually how it is for you, because it's like another planet. It's like listening
absolutely.
to another language. And if you don't, it's almost like that part feels, if you don't share what I feel, what you're saying, you just don't see me, you don't understand me, and then I shut down. So it's essential that we learn that our feelings are doorways to real contact with ourself, real presence with ourself. And this is very challenging because we were conditioned that feelings are weak, feelings are vulnerability is something that we should avoid, that we weren't received in our upbringing around that. So we have a lot of conditioning and concepts around feelings. Especially as men, we were told not to cry, not to be wusses, not to be, we were very castrated emotionally as men collectively. So it's a really first to reclaim intimacy in our relationships. We have to reclaim our empowerment with actually what we feel and be able to talk about it as a doorway of real presence, of real masculinity, actually, because that's what makes us feel connected again, which makes us feel like a man. And that presence then can listen to a woman, can
Yes, and I
really
would
listen to
say,
a woman.
well, that's so beautiful. I find it's like you keep talking and something starts to, yeah, almost like a, yeah, it's an energy that comes back to the woman, that's the way that I feel. But of course, the work is individual first. And in our side as a woman, I feel that one of the things that I have been learning as well, working with many women, is that how to come back to learn about my own feelings and validate my feelings. This is something that for me is precious. Not make my feelings wrong. Yeah, and I speak as me, myself, Shuba, you know, that's has been my journey. How I can validate what I feel and not making me wrong for feel the way that I feel. And I'm responsible for the way that I feel as well, not the other. And this starts to also to be more round and easier when I start this remembrance of the validation, because that allows my authentic feelings to show up to myself. And also it starts to grow my inner container, because if I validate my container and if I feel the freedom to feel what I feel, respectful towards that, even if it's uh, uh, um, something that I'm making like that is not reality, doesn't matter. I am responsible for that. If I don't put in someone into the man, I can feel that, I can embrace that. And that can metabolizes when it's felt, when it's seen, when it's validated. And the second thing is how to validate my needs, to know what are my needs. Not that I would get my needs and put into the lap of someone, but if I know them, I can somehow be responsible for them and I can attend. I can start to sense, okay, how can I do here? Because I need that. That needs is something that is so far away from so many of us. To have time to look at what I need. Who has that time? And what I'm gonna do when I see what I need, what is for, because nobody there to give it to me. But it's about for me to know that, to be able to give that to myself, as well to share that with my partner, not with the intention that he should give that to me, but when I share that, it's something is there is an alchemy that starts to happen, because it becomes known, it becomes present, it becomes unspoken, sorry,
Yes.
exposed, it becomes, yeah, spoken there.
Yeah. Richard,
So
let me
please,
can I jump in there, because this is what you
I
touched.
think we're gonna go, we
We
have
have
some
five
minutes
minutes
more.
actually.
Okay,
We have
okay.
5 minutes, and then I need to go. But what you say
Oh,
right now is there's a key, because when we don't have the sex to bond us, and when we look at the like neuroscience a little bit and understanding, like the attraction, sexual attraction is actually stimulated in the emotional brain. You know, it's like that's many times like that part shuts down when we're too stressed. We don't feel it horny. We don't feel attracted to make love, um, because that part of the brain is overwhelmed with stress. And so when we look at, actually, we might not have the sex because of various things, especially when the children are very young, we're too tired, etc., etc. But when we share the feelings and the needs, we stimulate that part of the emotional brain. We actually we enter that part of the emotional brain. This is why we're saying about sharing the feelings. We actually have contact with the part of the brain which is the same part that meets in the sexuality, and therefore we recreate the bridge to feel the intimacy again, the body registered. We are intimate again, like it seeks out through the sex, because the sexuality, and we could say, is a way, is a shell, and inside the shell that contact is happening. So you, some way, you're recreating the bridge by validating what I feel, what I need actually, which is different than what you need. And it doesn't matter, because it's a doorway back to that contact together. So in some way, people say, oh, I've shared my feelings, this and that. But we start to understand the that they're doorways. It's not the end point. It's not that I'm going to stay in my shame when I talk about it. But when I talk about it, I feel more connected. Therefore, I feel seen by you. I feel that I'm not alone in that feeling. I'm understood, and that opens me. So it's not. It's become.
yes,
That's what we mean by a doorway.
yes. And you can have the opportunity to calibrate the expectations. You can have the opportunity to let it out, what is going on for you. Yeah, it's like, what is stressing you? Yeah, what is that you miss? And what is, how it looks like your landscape, your inner landscape. And by saying
Yes.
so,
Oof.
thank you for listening,
Oof.
right?
Yeah.
And
Thank you
thank
for
you for not
seeing me. Yeah.
fixing me.
Right. Exactly. Especially that, you know, because many times, like you say, when you share the needs, the other feels the demand. It's like, oh, I have to fix you. It's like, that's not possible. I cannot fix you. And there's no need anyway. I think we have this just some minutes. I think it's important we look at like the resources, the in some way, like, okay, what is the, we already talked about, you know, talking about the feelings in some way, but these are the things that we deal with really in Ari for couples that we're about to have now on Sunday.
Yes,
We're going to start, which
yes, exciting.
is actually these tools in a way. It's not just for people with children, but having couples to learn like the foundational pieces that are necessary to sustain intimacy with when we're dealing with real life, which is having kids, having careers, having other friends that the other might not feel connected to, how to handle all of the challenges that come up in a committed relationship. And one thing that you said in the beginning that touches me so much is having a vision together before children, or when you're in it, it's never too late, but that you will be confronted with a transformation
Yes,
in relationship, and taking that on head on, like really validating that when you go into a committed relationship, you are inviting a transformation in your life. It's not just because, oh, you're attractive and I would like to spend more time with you. When you commit, physiologically, biologically, it engages an inner work inside us. And when we have that clear, it's so much easier to know, okay, I'm going on a journey now. I need to pack my bags. I need resources. I need tools. I need understandings. I need knowledge. I'm going to prepare a journey in myself. And having that first vision, it opens up our intelligence to go, okay, I need to know who are my friends that I can reach out to when you're not available, for example, or when I feel like the need for freedom. What are my hobbies that I can go and kayak and by myself, and you know, it's like start to gather consciously that I will be triggered. I will be challenged in my concepts, beliefs, and identities in myself, and be prepared for that. And together to have that conversation as a couple that, okay, we're going on this. We're going to, as parents, we're, like you say, we're going to move from facing each other to facing that child. What comes up for us? And a
yes,
commitment again. Yes.
yes, yes,
Restating that commitment of, okay, it's about marriage, and that marriage is going to trigger us. How are we going to handle that? We need
yes.
tools for that.
And is it beautiful, this picture, just ending here, but this picture of, if you would see, one picture would be the woman looking to the babe, towards the baby, and the man looking towards the woman. Yeah? And then this is one way of the constellation that gets into trouble, in my opinion, because quite often, yeah, one is going to be, yeah, wanting something here and the other expecting something here, and the expectation is going to go trouble.
Yes.
But another
Yes.
picture is this one, that the woman is looking towards the baby and the man is looking towards the baby, and both of them standing up together and having that priority, and in that arm that can come together. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then maybe we can talk about this another time, but it would be some time passes by and the baby starts to grow up, and then it becomes a child, and then all of a sudden that focus also needs to return.
Yes.
And
And it's
then the
beautiful. It's
archetype of the woman has to call her, the lover, back, as well the man. So this needs to be returned. It's a pity
Yeah.
that we are coming back, we are talking about this just in the end, but it's nice at the same time that we are mentioning this here, because this is very precious. For many of you
Yeah.
that are here together with us today, maybe you don't have a little baby, maybe you have a kid that is 14, 17, when they started to go away, when they have their own lives, and then all of a sudden you look into your partner and you realize, oh my God, where am I, and where is you, and where is our relationship?
Yes.
So that archetype of the lover cannot be gone. So needs to be somehow they're present, holding each other, with that focus towards the baby when it's needed, but in certain moment needs to be recalled, to be
Yes.
looking to each other.
Yes. And the pathway to that is, some people say, oh, it's too late, it's too many years. No, it's not. The the pathway is what we've been talking about, is validating the feelings that maybe happened more in the past, but where did I shut down? And
Yeah.
and then coming back and validating that is the turning towards each other, and validating were those places that I shut down because I didn't know what else to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's human. But it's never too late where we can turn towards each other and validate what we feel, what we needed, and what I need right now to connect with you again. And therefore, that returning happens, the reconnecting happens through that validation of the feelings as doorways, the needs as doorways again. And that is essential. And I love what you say. It's like our arms around each other, because that connection of the intimacy is what came first. That was a doorway to receive the child. So it came first, actually. It needs to be honored and validated in various ways for the children also. Because the children receive, they're out of your body, they come out of your body, but they are still receiving the nucleus of the connection of the parents together, which changes, but it needs that bonding for the children to feel they're loved, they're safe, they're welcome here. It's such a big topic, really. We could spend hours here, of course. So, but I need to go
Yes.
to the group right now. So thank you
Hey,
so much.
I must say, yeah, yeah, thank you so much. But I must say that I miss you very much.
Yeah,
Come back home.
well, I
Come back
am. I'm coming.
soon. Yes. Okay.
I miss you
Okay.
too so much. Really, give Jai from me,
Mm.
please.
I will. And I
I
wanted to
love
thank
you.
all of you. That was beautiful, because I know a lot of Brazilians here, and it's so early and it's holiday today. So thank you so much. And so many of you also, I can see so many people from Sweden, from UK, from, yes, from Oslo. It's so nice. Oh, thank you so much for being here with us. And hopefully this, yeah, hopeful this was good, that you can, yeah, that we can share something that can contribute to some and to all of you, hopefully.
Yes.
Much love.
Mwah. Good. Love you. Bye bye. I gotta
Bye
run.
bye, my love.
Ciao.
Bye.